Hi, my name is Jerry Jin, and what I want to do today is tell you how you can detect the energies, the subtle energies of Gans or Ormus, or sometimes it's called nano and plasma, Brown's gas, and monatomic elements. They're all the same thing in terms of the energetic levels that you can detect. First, let me talk a little bit about GANs. I have another YouTube in this series that I've created in order to describe detecting these types of energies. And another YouTube talks about the nature of GANs, but I'll give a little bit of a background on that in this particular YouTube. Maram Keshe talks about the various states of matter, where everyone knows that there are solids, liquids, and gas. But there are higher energy materials called nano, GANs, and plasma. And GANs just stands for gas in a solid state. And in this particular slide, we talk about the nano state of a captured and concentrated gas is already in the magnetic gravitational plasmatic state, which radiates out its own spinning magnetic plasma energy fields, just like the sun, whilst drawing in gravitational plasmatic fields. This statement may not mean a lot to you if you're new to this area, but I'll try to describe that in the next slide and give you a better definition of GANs, and so they can understand what it is. In this slide, we have solid matter nanocoating and gas in the nano state. And let's take a look at the blue circles at the bottom of the slide. And let's just pretend that that's a copper wire, solid copper wire, and that's a solid state. If you put a propane torch to the wire, you get a black coating. That black coating contains something called a nano coating of copper. And what happens is that the spacing between the atoms of copper is now separated, although they're still attracted to the surface of the copper wire, but it now becomes more of a superconductor, and electrons can flow more easily. With oscillations, electrons can more easily flow through that layer. If you free that layer up, and a lot of times in the field of GANs, you can use alkalis, acids, and things of that nature to free GANs up to move into the liquid phase. If you do that, now you have what's called gas in the nano state. And if you look at the energies of it, and we'll talk more about what these energies are, it's a subtle energy that you can measure. The solid copper wire does not have that energy, so on the right-hand side, no 369 energies. I've dubbed the name of the energies as 369, and you'll see why in a few moments. Whereas the nano coating has this 369 energy, and the gas in the nano state also has this 369 energy. In talking about GANs, it's good to look at the example of how these GANs materials behave, because they do behave like a magnet. And a magnet you can think of as north and south poles, but you can also think about it as gravitational attraction and magnetic repulsion. And that's probably a more accurate description of what a magnet really is. Put a couple of disc magnets on a table or a series of them and move them around, and they'll all find their position relative to each other in terms of attraction and repulsion. GANs behaves the same way. When you free up the metals or the atoms from a surface, they behave like individual magnets. And what that means is that there's energy flows into and out of the magnet. So there's attraction and repulsion based upon the structure of these monatomic atoms or Gans materials. And when you look at that, that's analogous to a torus structure. In a torus structure, there's energies in and energies out. And they talk about that also as magnetic and gravitational, or radiative and gravitational. And these things, these Gans molecules or atoms or aspects of matter form fields. And because of the gravitational and magnetic nature of it, and here in this one you see energies going in and out of the two ends of the structure. And this is very analogous to what a magnet, a disk magnet, how that behaves. Okay, let's go to why am I calling this 369 energies and why am I talking about the Taurus? Tesla is well known for saying, if you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, that you would have the key to the universe. Why did he say that, and what did he know? Let's look first at the Taurus shape. There's energies going in and out with regard to the Taurus. And if you look at Arthur Young's description of the Taurus, he says that the Taurus is a donut-shaped whirlpool vortex that is the only manner in which self-sustained motion can exist in a given medium. And you see the shape throughout nature. You see it in the apple because of its shape, but you see it in electromagnetic fields of an atom, a seed, a human, a planet, a solar system, a galaxy, and the universe. It's a universal shape. The shape has something to do with creation. And there's a saying, as above, so below. And in terms of formation of matter, that is a very key statement. If you look at the work of Walter Russell, he had an out-of-body experience in which God told him about the nature of the formation of matter. And the formation of matter was a vortex motion of light moving into the center and radiating out with its decay. So in this particular slide, we have the gravitational or electrical field that's spinning light into the center, and that's a centripetal motion, and it's a clockwise motion. And actually have two sets of light, and you call this a male red and a female blue light, and it's both centripetal and moving in towards the center. And that is the nature of creation. And at the center is where creation of matter occurs, or where the observation of matter occurs. It's a place of motion and equilibrium. And so that is matter being formed. Matter and creation is a cycle. The cycle is creation and decay. And the decay is the spiral out, which is centrifugal motion out. And so you have motion, or you call it a radiative effect. So it's centrifugal motion out that's counterclockwise, and that's for decay of matter. I happened to listen to a talk by Bob Whitehouse in which he was talking about the Taurus. And in the Taurus, he showed a cross-section of it. And you have the circle and the two smaller circles. And within that structure, I immediately saw the 3, 6, and 9. And the 6 is in red, and the 9 is in blue, and the two smaller circles, which are really the basis of the donut, you can see the 3 in the field around it is part of the 6 and the 9. So somehow the Taurus seemed to be related to the Nikola Tesla's concept of 369. I then took and made the drawing of the cross-section of a torus, and since I knew about BG3 and subtle energies, I tested that for BG3 energies, and there was no energy. But also knew that creation was a clockwise motion of light. So I drew the 6 and the 9 in a clockwise manner. And when I did that, lo and behold, BG3 was present. There was another energy called 369, which I'll talk about, and when I talk about how you can measure that. So that was present in the torus. And in the torus, if you, the 369, the Arabic numerals, if you draw the 6 and the 9 in a clockwise manner, you have the 369 energies and you have the BG3 energies. In the way that nature looks at numbers is they don't look at the Arabic numerals of numbers, they look at units. So if you draw the units of 3 lines, 6 lines, and 9 lines, you get BG3 energies, and you have to draw it in that order, 3, 6, 9. You're talking about 3, 6, 9. The yin-yang figure also is there, and that's basically a torus. If you draw that and draw out the two circles, you have a torus. But here you have both a clockwise and counterclockwise motion when you draw that inner curve. And when you draw that, and the yin-yang is known for balance and maintaining balance of the two energies, the yin and yang energies. But when you draw the line, the center line, to indicate the two motions of creation and decay, you do get BG3. And some of you have probably heard of Marco Rodin in his Vortex Math, in which he talks about the magic of the 9 numbers. When you put 9 numbers into a circle, if you start doubling the numbers, you get 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1. That structure has BG3 and 369. And if you do further extensions of the math of this circle, you create a torus. So this series of numbers is a torus. It's just a mathematical version of it. And if you write out these numbers of 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1 as units, that also has BG3 and 369 units or energies. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say BG3, I have a separate discussion on biogeometry and BG3, which is an energy of harmonizing harmony that you can create in an environment. Everyone knows what Om is, but you haven't seen the Sanskrit version of Om, which has the 369 energy. The English version writing Om does not have that energy. The Sanskrit version has it. Sanskrit version is just merely 369, but laid out in this manner. You see the 369 within the structure of Om. Bagua also has, it's part of creation in the Asian culture, and the dashed and long lines and the short lines represent the tetrahedrons and its intersections and some of the more advanced sacred geometry versions of creation. The Reiki symbol also has the 369. The Reiki symbol is nothing more than the clockwise rotation of the energies that is in the creation cycle of the torus. A little bit more about Gans, Ormus, plasma, and monatomic elements. They appear to me as all porous structures, which means that they all have maggrav components. That is, they have a north-south or an attraction-repulsion aspect to them. And we've learned that the torus structure has 369 energies associated with it. Thus, will maggrav units or GANs or Ormus, plasma, monatomic elements have that? And the answer is yes. And how do you detect this? you can create a special pendulum that is in resonance with this energy of 369. And that's relatively easy to make. And if you have a pendulum that is in resonance with this energy, you can detect this energy. So it's quite simple. How do you make a pendulum that is resonance with 369? Well, you have a pendulum and you put 369 on the pendulum. So the easiest way to do it is have 3 lines, 6 lines, and 9 lines on it, and it will resonate with the energy of 369. And this energy is not the same as the BG3 energy. It's 2 different energies. And and with the pendulum that this is a stone pendulum, and it's not of a precious gemstone. It's just an ordinary stone. And if I make a pendulum out of salt and flour that's wet and then let it dry, you can create a pendulum. And I describe how to do that in my book, The Seeker and the Teacher of the Light. And you put the 369 on it, it will resonate with the energies of 369. And you can, instead of writing the numbers on, especially for the stone, you can inscribe it with a carbide pen. It's very easy to do. But that's the tool you'll use to detect 369 energies. And the detection is also quite simple. And you should really listen to my talk on measuring 369 energies. And if you're not a dowser or don't know anything about pendulums, listen to my other talk on the flow of energy, and you'll learn about the principles of how dowsing and radiesthesia work. And it'll help you in understanding how to do this detection. In fact, you should listen to all the YouTubes that I have. I put together a series of YouTubes on subtle energies with the express purpose of instructing people how to detect these energies, especially in the Gans and nano and plasma areas. So what you do is you hold the pendulum between the thumb and index finger, and hold it about 1.5 inches away from the weight of the little ball that is there. And you get the ball moving in a to and fro motion just to overcome inertia. Then when you put that pendulum over anything that has 369 energies on it, the pendulum will rotate in a clockwise manner. And therefore you know that you are encountering this particular energy. So clockwise rotation for Gans, nano, plasma, or these symbols of ohm, or if you write the Taurus structure and do it and draw it in a clockwise manner, you'll see these energies that are there. Here's a plasma ball that I got from a talk that I listened to. This 1/500th of a second after ignition in a Nevada test in the 1950s, and they took this picture and a plasma ball formed. Well, if you look at the plasma ball, it's very strong in 369 energies. So what you've done is you've converted matter into its basic components with that hydrogen bomb, and you're seeing that with regard to the amount of 369 energy that is here. Now, these 369 energies will be able to form BG3 energies, and I'll talk to you about that in another YouTube, which I talk about the fields they can form from Ormus and the Gans materials. This is just a listing of the YouTubes that I've made so that you can follow it, why I've made it, what's the basis of these detection methods, which is resonance, how do you feel the energies so that you can feel it while you're dowsing and know what's happening, how do you make sure your dowsing is accurate and that's securing your resonance, how do you use personal wavelength from these pendulums to know what's good or bad for you, because you can't tell that if you know what your own personal wavelength is. I talk about the IM vibrational level, which is your essence of who you really are. And I talk about the 369 energies in general, and then what Ormus and Gans is, and then this particular YouTube is really about detecting specifically the Gans and Ormus and nano materials. And my next one down the bottom is the fields that Gans forms, and then a little bit about biogeometry. So thank you. I shall stop the recording.